This is The Bump, the one podcast SA footy fans need to hear, where the biggest names tackle the biggest South Australian footy stories. Roo, Ditts, Bernie, Jars, Triple M's The Bump.
It's Roo, Bernie and Ditts this week. The Crows desperately need a win. Port Adelaide going okay. Let's rip into the Crows first up. Bernie, I've already hit Roo with this. I want to ask you, David King. Now, there are many, many experts in the game in this day and age. David King says the Crows midfield is vanilla.
Vanilla?
Vanilla. How do you respond to that?
Well, vanilla, it's a pretty general term, but I think they do need to mix it up a bit. I don't know. There's been a lot of chat about Crouch and Laird playing in the same midfield. I like Crouch in there. I think that's probably his only position in the Adelaide side. I don't think he can go forward or back. I think Laird can go back, so that I think that might be an option. We haven't seen any of that
How do
for
they
a long
spice
time.
it up?
I like Saligo in there. I know Saligo didn't have a huge game. I think he only had 15 touches, but I like the X factor he's got. He's got speed and can get on the outside from the inside. I love Dawson in there. I don't necessarily agree that they're vanilla. Mix it up a little bit, though. Wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, some people are saying that in the pre-season they used Rankin and Rochelle and Pedler more through there.
Yep.
Saligo wasn't available, but they've gone away from that in the first couple of games. So I think Nixie definitely wants to do it, whether there's a reason why it hasn't happened as much early or not. Dawson's been off his game a fraction.
Yep.
Even his ball use hasn't been as good as normal. So I think it's across the board, though. I think the whole side is down. It's not. I don't think it's unfair to blame the midfield. I mean, the forward line had more inside 50s than Geelong, but the use going inside forward 50 wasn't good.
Yep.
But then the guys getting the ball inside 50 weren't choosing the right options well. If you look at the back line, they weren't using the ball. I think across the board, their ball use, their confidence, their whole game is down for whatever reason, because they're actually pretty good in the pre-season. The pre-season games actually played quite well.
Continued to bomb it to the top of the square, Adelaide, for some silly reason, and that's where Tommy Stewart was just waiting. So they had options out. We called the game, Roo. They had options leading up at the player a lot, and they decided to, whether it was pressure or panic or whatever, they just kicked it in long. And Tommy Stewart is too good at recognising when someone's lowering the eyes and going to load up to the top of the square. He'd just drop off. They didn't go through Pedler at all. Didn't have a great game. You can argue whether he was the right person or not. Maybe, maybe not. But you got to go through Tom Stewart's man if you're going to hurt him, which they didn't.
The number one way you beat an intercept defender is by lowering your eyes and using the ball properly.
Yep.
You do not beat an intercepting defender. If you want an intercepting defender to have a good day, then hack, kick, or bomb the ball in long. Tom Stewart, very good at doing that. Their other defenders are actually very good as well. All their defenders are 6'3", 6'4". They're good above their head. So Adelaide, unfortunately, played into their hand by just kicking the ball in like that. And I think it's just not enough composure and under pressure.
All right, talked about David King. Andrew Newton-Jarman on the rush hour had this to say about the Crows.
For me, it's just a lack of talent. So the question I ask you, well, it is, the talent's not there. They're hard-working, they try hard, but they don't have the skill set.
Jars has banged on about the kicking skill of the Crows for about 5 years, I reckon.
He has, yep.
Is it getting any better?
Well, no, on the weekend, no, because you look at the inside 50s.
But it was better towards the end of last year. They were the number one scoring side in the competition, for Christ's sake. Like, you don't do that unless you're skilled.
Yep. No, they were better late last year, but you can only go on the most recent game, and they weren't. So you got to call it as you see it.
Yeah,
so
but he's been saying that for Ditts just said, for 5 years.
It's probably
you
longer.
don't move the ball from the back line to the forward line and score heavily. If you haven't got skills.
We haven't seen that from Adelaide, though, this year.
I know, that's this year. But that's confident. You don't lose your ability to kick, Ben.
That's one thing I haven't seen, that open, clean, fast. I thought we were going to get a game like that on Friday night. Two teams that like to take the game on through the middle of the ground, intercept and score off intercept, slingshot type footy. But
is everyone's defence better at the moment, or is Adelaide just not moving the ball as well?
Well, I think a bit of both on Friday night. Geelong's defence very good, but you don't often win inside 50s, contested footy and clearance and lose by the margin they did. So, I mean, they're doing some things right. It's just a few tweaks, I reckon, and a bit of a lack of confidence with some key players.
It's like Tex was rushing.
Yep.
Fogg rushed.
You don't
Pedler
normally
rush.
see Tex rush or
Basically, the whole forward line were the same.
yep.
And you saw in the back line, the defenders, we saw Josh Worrell do a two-fisted punch. Now, Ditts, when you can punch with two fists, you can mark the
There's
ball.
a few of those.
So that's a confidence thing.
Yep.
And then Mark Keane also did it with one fist as well. So that to me just screams a little bit of confidence. Why they would be down on confidence, I don't know.
No.
Is it the pressure? Is it being zip one and then having a big game? Is it expectation of finals? Who knows? But what they have to do is just turn that around really quickly and go, boys, we're a good side. We've had a good summer. Everyone down there said they've improved. Just let it flow. Let's just, let it happen. We're good enough. Let's just get out there and execute it.
This is what we said would be Adelaide's test this year, expectation. So far, I know it's only a very small sample size, but it's a fail so far. But they can turn that around quick. Freo in Perth.
But 2 down,
expectation.
heading to Perth, isn't it? It's
Tough.
It's not what you want, is
and
it?
then Melbourne gather round, then Carlton back in Melbourne. Like it's a tough little period, but if they want to live up to expectation, they're going to have to win these now.
All right, a positive out of the other night, I think. Did you like the movement of Chris Burgess?
I thought he had a good start.
Yep.
Yeah.
He looks all right, doesn't he?
Should have kicked 3, missed one from the goal square.
Yeah,
Would have
the
been
post.
a good night, but I liked his hands. I liked his movement.
He's a hard
He got
worker.
up and down the ground. He's probably Adelaide's best forward. He looked the most dangerous anyway. I know he dropped out of it for periods, but the entries was shocking. So to do what he did, I thought was quite good.
Yeah. All right. Now, there was a bit of an interruption during the game as well the other night.
Now, free kick, we've got a streaker. No, that's what we got, and Crouch has got him. He's tackled him. About to wrestle him to the deck, he's escaped. Old mate's escaped.
That's bad.
Get your long to grab him. Because their tackle pressure's been good. Keays decked him.
Right.
What an idiot.
Keays got him. Bern, I reckon you would have buried that bloke if you got near him.
You reckon I
like you
would've-
did Dangerfield that night
you
when
get
you
it?
came to town with Melbourne.
Do you get weeks for elbowing a streaker?
No,
I reckon
That's probably
it'd
a
be
free
good to
hit.
find out.
Yeah.
I would,
maybe do
you,
some-
you just feel like just going bang.
Oh,
So no repercussions for the two players that manhandled him? We haven't heard anything,
No, there
have
was
we?
a bit of fake news going around on the weekend that Ben Keays was fined 10 grand, but that was just a fake. It was fake
Should have
news.
been paid 10 grand.
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
Stopped him.
Yeah. All right. How are you feeling about the Crows going to Freo?
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Nervous about Adelaide. If they lose this one, they don't want to look too far ahead, but they've got a couple of tough ones coming up. So it's almost a must-win for Adelaide this week, but I think they can.
They can win.
I did the Fremantle game Saturday, and they weren't great. They got the job done in the end, but North Melbourne's pressure and the way they played in the first half, if North Melbourne can do that, Adelaide can certainly do that, and
Yep.
Adelaide can do it for longer. North Melbourne couldn't sustain it, and they allowed Fremantle to come through the middle of the ground in the second half. But without that, if you keep pressure on the footy against Fremantle, they were making mistakes all over the place, and that's against North Melbourne, as I said. So watch that. I obviously called that game, and I watched it very closely, and I'm confident Adelaide can get this done, but
All right.
I'm not.
If they're at their best.
Yes,
If they
I-
play like they did on the weekend, they'll lose.
I'm confident, but I'm nervous. Does that
right.
make sense?
No, that's spot
Yes.
on.
And I,
Now,
I
what,
think the players are probably the same.
Yep.
what about Sarong? Is he a real star, or is he, how do you rate him?
He is obviously coming off 46 touches the week before. I thought I'm going to watch him and see what he does with the footy. He's an accumulator. I don't think he's hurt you as much as some others.
Okay.
If someone else,
So
I know
let
you
him
could
go.
aim 100 other midfielders. If they got 46 touches, you would be locking that next week. You'd be locking down on him. You'd be
Yep.
shutting him down. I think he only had a couple of
They
inside
got a pretty
50s.
good midfield, though.
Couple of
that's
ins-
their one. That's their strength.
Yep.
They
Couple
got-
of inside 50s he had, I reckon, in that
That's
46. So he wasn't hurting you that much, but he's an accumulator.
Depends
Good
if
player.
he gives it to his teammates that does
Yep.
put it inside.
It
50,
does.
It still
Interesting.
hurts.
They
you
went-
don't have to do it yourself.
They went with Fife into the midfield and they put Andrew Brayshaw out to a wing at one stage. So they got a lot of midfielders.
Oh, Young's
That-
the
Young
real
was in
talented
there,
one.
but once they put Brayshaw back in the midfield, Fremantle, that's what the turning point. They
Yeah,
were
Jackson
a
in
lot
the
better.
ruck was
Jackson was
playing
almost
a brilliant game.
He was best on ground. Jackson. His follow up stuff for a ruckman.
So
is
Rob's got to have a big game.
outstanding. But Rob does that pretty well as well. So it's going to be a good battle. He's so good below his knees, Jackson.
Adelaide can break even in the midfield. You'd hope that they
Yep.
can get the job done in their forward line. It's a big deck. It's a great opportunity for them, and it's a winnable game. They need to go over there and get the job done on Good Friday.
All right, Port Adelaide have won by 50 points and 30 points, and I still reckon they're just going half rat power.
Oh, come on, Ditts.
Nah.
Get excited,
no,
Ditts.
No, I'm
What about your percentage?
Yeah, it's good at the moment.
No, I agree. I know what you're talking about because I did that game as well.
Could have lost against
Just
Richmond.
about did every bloody game this weekend.
At one point in the Richmond game, they could have let it go. They didn't.
I didn't feel like they were ever going to lose. It was just, it wasn't something you'd want to watch back, I don't reckon. There was no pressure from Richmond on the. I'll worry about Richmond, by the way.
It was their worst pressure rating in 9 years.
Well, their pressure on the footy, that makes sense because their pressure on the footy was deplorable. It was like training. And Port were making mistakes at training. It was almost like that. It was watching CMS Crows train against Kadina or something like that. So it wasn't a game you'd buy off the AFL and watch back. But in saying that, Ditts, you do get dragged down to whoever you're playing's level sometimes, and they got it done in the end. Lucky they had a very good third quarter because they just had this ability to let Richmond back in the game at stages, which...
lucky they got that goal paid when it was touched.
Yes,
and everyone saw it. And then they got 2 goals in another 2 minutes straight after. That was to their advantage, but they took it. And then he went away from home. A win at the MCG is a good win.
Yeah.
So winning ugly is better than losing ugly, that's for sure.
Yeah,
what about three-quarter time with the 2 goals in 30 seconds, Ditts? Got it back to 7 points. Were you nervous?
Yeah, see, that was slack.
Very
slack.
slack.
Don't let that happen.
No, you shouldn't. Should
Shut
just
it
kill
down.
the game. But
kill the game.
In response to that, their first 3 centre bounce clearances in the first 2 minutes of the last quarter went bang, 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 goal, and basically put the game away.
You said Richmond were bad defensively. I actually thought for the whole game, Port defensively was terrible.
Wasn't a great defensive
Things
game.
like that, like what you just pointed out.
They looked, I don't know the right term to use here, but Port Adelaide looked slack, looked lazy.
Yeah.
There was opportunities. Marshall, I know he kicked 4 or something in the end, and he got going in that third quarter and last quarter, but he wasn't coming at the footy. He dropped. Yeah, there was a day that we were saying in the commentary box, if you're a Port Adelaide forward, lick your lips today because they basically had no defenders. And the defenders they did have, like Dylan Grimes, he's way out of form.
He's undermanned, though. He shouldn't be playing on a 6'7".
They are all at sea there. So I just thought they were just going to smack them. That should have been a 110-point win, I feel, in my mind. But
I agree.
They just
and a
ball bit
real champion side. This is where I'm harsh. A real champion side would have done that. They would have gone, we'll beat this mob by 100. Bury them.
Yeah, Richmond gave them the opportunity because they didn't defend the footy at all. So, and defensively, on the flip side, like you said, Port Adelaide, they just let Richmond in a few times as well, which that's why it wasn't a great game. But you 50-point win, Ditch. You just got to move on.
Yeah.
And this is the real test this week, Melbourne.
Yeah.
This is
maybe
no May or Lever as well.
That's right.
On the flip side, Brandon Zerk-Thatcher did a good job on Tommy Lynch. Kept him to 1 goal. Radagalier showed moments in the back line, although he had 6 touches. He did what he had to do and took a couple of good intercept marks. So and I thought Soldo was very close to breaking even on Nankervis as well. So I think their 3 recruits so far are doing their job, albeit against limited opposition.
Zerk-Thatcher is very important for that side because he allows Aliir to be Aliir.
Yep.
And Radagalier a little bit the same. He allows him to come off as well. So, I mean, last year, or if without the recruiting, Aliir would have had to stand Tom Lynch.
That's right.
And then you've got
Changes
who
everything.
you got then coming across and helping. So he is very underrated at Port Adelaide. Doesn't matter his output so much, though he did stop Tom Lynch on the weekend, but what he does by just freeing up the others is gold.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about Melbourne. They're a good side. This will be hard. This will be hard. Even if May's out, they're saying Lever probably will play.
Well, he's a chance to play, that's for sure. He's got something underneath his kneecap. They're not quite sure exactly what it is, but you could see him already doing stationary skills in that yesterday and kicking the ball. That's a good sign.
No structural damage, they said.
That's right. There could have been cartilage damage the way it was, and he's had knee history before. Without May, it's a big advantage.
Yes.
2 good defenders are a lot better than 1 defender because they've just worked in tandem duo for years. They're the best duo in the competition. So having May out exposes Lever. Lever likes to play on the second fiddle and come over the top and be an intercepting defender. He's one of the... I think he might even be the number 1 intercepting defender in the comp over the last few years. When you haven't got your lockdown bloke there, you can't do that as much. So Tomlinson will be back there, or they might have to put Petty back or something like that. Makes Jake Lever's job totally different. Plus, if he's carrying a bit of a dodgy knee, might be an opportunity for the Port forwards again.
All right, how do you see it, Bern?
I agree, but Port had that opportunity against Richmond, by the way, as well. They had all their defenders out as well, and Bolter ended up playing forward, which I thought he might have gone back. Don't know. It's tough. I need to see some more with Port. They've played
Yeah.
West Coast and a depleted Richmond that
I know.
didn't defend. So
Yep.
I'm just going to hold my powder for a bit, and I'll wait for the next couple of weeks.
We'll find out how good Port are against Melbourne, I reckon.
because they play pretty well at Adelaide Oval,
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Yeah, good midfield battle because Rosie and Butter's completely different
Yep.
to Oliver and
big bodies
Petrarca
from
and
Melbourne.
Viney. Like
Yep.
you got a couple of blokes you can't lay a glove on, and then you got 3 raging bulls
Yeah.
on the other side. It'll be bloody
Good. If it gets to
it'll
the
be a
outside,
great-
Port will have the upper hand. If it stays on the inside, you'd think Melbourne would be too strong. So
Well, Gawn's going to get on top of Soldo, you'd think.
Yes, he
so
will.
Soldo's got
Been
a
all right.
big night to play in this.
yes, very
just
big
got to
role.
compete. He's got to compete.
Yeah, and he
Can't
will.
allow
He will.
Gawn to part it around and give Petrarca and Oliver and
Yep.
Viney and those sort of boys, open space with the clearance. But it'll be a cracking game on Saturday night.
All right, now Jason Horne-Francis pulled out late against Richmond. This is what Ken Hinckley's had to say about
Yeah,
that.
we're optimistic that he'll be there, but again, we won't take a risk. It's just too early in the season to put anything at risk, whether it's Jason or whether it's any player. We just got to be very cautious that it's a long season. Maybe I'm learning that a little bit better. I think that's really important that, yes, you've got to put a price on every victory, but you've also got to put a price on being healthy at the end. And I know it's early to be talking about the end, but
Fantastic honesty by Ken Hinkley. I've picked this up the last 2 weeks. He said the same thing. They have shifted to survival in Port Adelaide, and they've shifted to we need to win premierships. We need to play well in September. Last year, remember, they were going hell for leather just to get there after their slow start. They won 13 in a row, but they were banged up. And when they got there, they were half cooked.
Yep.
They are going to manage. Look, in an ideal world, without many injuries, they can manage having 1 or 2 out each week and then hopefully be fresh and fit and try and be the best side in September.
All right, good on you, Roo. Good on you, Bern. Enjoy your week at the footy, everybody.
Roo, Ditts, Bernie, Jars. Triple M's The Bump.